Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David, the channel where men who want to do a circumnavigation post-retirement try to convince their beautiful but skeptical wives that this is a fantastic idea. So this week's guest yacht is one of my absolute favorites, the Ballance 482. So today we're going to review its specifications, pricing, and layout against three similar vessels, do a full tour asking what would Sylvia say, naval gaze at an innovation and or an adjustment that might make life easier aboard, have a look at the used market for 3 to 5 year old comparables, and finally give it a Dave score and compare that result with all our previously reviewed models. As always, we have a wine pairing with our yacht of choice, and this week we head down the Atlantic coast to the home of Ballance catamarans in one of my favorite world wine regions, South Africa. This 2016 Syrah was recommended to me by a native of that beautiful country and has a name that only a native could pronounce. But I had him do it for me 3 times on camera, so I'm going to give it my best shot just for Roger. Tambosklerov. He did something with his tongue at the last syllable.
Tambosklerov.
Do one more time.
Tambosklerov.
Tambosklerov. And it's a Kleinwood Kleinwood Tambosklerov. The Kleinwood is a small family farm, and it just has 12 hectares of arable land. Of these, 10 acres are devoted to vines, with the remaining 2 under olive trees. The rest of the farm is left wild or planted with roses and vegetables. So the word Kleinwood is Afrikaans, meaning something small and precious. And the family chose to call their wines Tambosklerov after the suburb in Cape Town where they lived before they moved to Kleinwood. So I hope you will enjoy it. Tambosklerov. Let's have a go. Okay, let's see what we have here. Hopefully you can see this. Kleinwood Tambosklerov 216 Syrah. I think you're really going to enjoy that. It is got all the depth of the New World South African wines with something of a lightness of New World wines. I really do like it. I think it's a great pairing with the Ballance 482. So cheers, and cheers to Phil and Roger. Let's have a look at the boat. So looking at this yacht, you can see it really has some great lines to it, some beautiful upwind sail area, and look at the solar on the roof. And of course, Phil Berman really believes in the rigid solar. Look at this picture as it comes out of the water. Fantastic. Now, Looking at the statistics, you can see that the Ballance, as far as pricing, is sort of mid-pack. It's a little less than the HHOC50, a little more than the ORC or the CCAT 48. But of course, these are base prices, so you really don't know what they include. Now, the weight that you're looking at here, we have 12.5 tons, 14.3 for the OC50, and then we drop to rather astonishing 9.4 and 9.7 for the CCAT. Looking at the actual profiles of these vessels, you can see the upwind sail area is 133 on the Ballance 482 versus 126, I guess, on the closest competitor, which is the OC50. The ORC 50, which is sort of like comparing to an F1 race car, is 148, and the CCAT, much more comparable, 120. Now, looking at the top-down deck layouts, you can see the Ballance is probably the most modest of the hull lengths. Again, this is general proportions. I've tried to keep this in scale. And then moving on to the actual cockpit, you can see the layouts. Square footage are probably quite comparable across the various boats. As we move down into the cabins, you can see that although still quite a narrow hull, the Ballance 482 does have a little more practical room than the others in this comparable. Again, coming back to Phil's balanced theme. Now, as we move to the actual vessel itself, you can see us at the aft here as we're moving along past the dinghy davits, which are beautifully integrated. Again, you have that helm station there, which Phil is famous for. He does not believe in any way in having an unsightly canopy over the helm station, because the idea is if it's that kind of weather, you simply duck down and take the Versahelm into the cockpit itself and slide the roof over. So you end up with a beautiful low profile. Now, moving on to the front decks, you can see the sexy dagger boards. As we move down, the layout of the lines is extremely clean, and Phil is famous for looking to reduce the spaghetti, as he calls it, and done a wonderful job. Now, what really struck me when I walked on the front of this vessel was the sense of solidity. You really can't see it in this here, but that longeron feels almost like a steel girder when you're looking at it. I'm just giving you a sense of it. Obviously, it's much lighter than that, but the sense of solidity absolutely struck me when I was walking on the front deck. Very nice dolphin seats up front. Again, you can see that the anchor is well aft, bringing the chain aft and that weight aft, allowing for much better balance. And you've got some nice locations here for padded seats and things of that nature. Now, one thing to note, you can see in the reflection off the glass there that he's using actual glass. So you're not going to have that grazing, you're not going to have the yellowing. Also, look at the cabin top here, and the beautiful integration of the solar panels, the hard face, the glass solar panels with that ventilation underneath them, allowing for maximum efficiency in their solar collection. Moving back down to the sugar scoop. Again, nice size sugar scoops. He's incorporated a flexi teak deck there, making everything very comfortable to walk on. You have those big windows you see there in the back that you'll see when we get into the head and the guest cabin. But a very inviting cockpit. Again, the ceiling nicely finished, but with some really practical touches for the surfboards and other toys that you might want to store there. Now here we see the Versa helm in its down position. This was a bit of a dreary day in Le Grand Mot, and you can see above there that the hatch is pulled closed, creating really a remarkable sight line forward. I was a little skeptical, but as I stood at the helm, I could see all the way around. 360 degrees, felt very, very comfortable. Now, the finishes inside are really, again, balanced. I keep coming back to that statement. The wood veneers are very nice. One thing that I noted, Roger was sitting there, I was chatting with him, was the flat paint they used on the exposed glass areas that makes them not look plastic, makes them look high quality, gives again that perception of quality and strength. Heading down into the starboard hull, you can see the quality, the cabinetry, and of course here is the famous Ballance rear owner's cabin head, and this is fantastic. So many of the catamarans have a very tight head, and I'd like to mention it's the same when I'm thinking what would Sylvia say as it would be in a house, and every real estate agent will tell you bathrooms and kitchens, bathrooms and kitchens. So it's no different on a catamaran when I'm thinking about trying to convince my wife to do a circumnav, bathrooms and kitchens. Phil has nailed it. He's blasted out of the park on this one. Heading down towards the berth, you can see the quality, the cabinetry. We've got lots of storage space here. A real sense of space and quality. Everything feels very solid. Lots of hanging space. And here we have the master berth, and you can see you've got some great access up either side of that berth, and great lighting and ventilation. I'd like to point out that hatch at the back there, at the head of the bed, that is under the main area. It allows you to open up and have ventilation when you are in a rainy environment. So it's absolutely fantastic. You can see you got pretty good access up to the head of the bed. Again, you know, whether it's me making it or Sylvia making it, having access to the head of the bed so it looks like the pictures look in our imaginary lifestyle is pretty important. Now, to that point, here is a little design idea, a little innovation. Why can't yachts like the Ballance have a pull-out section that the mattress sits on? You have the clearance across in that athwartship configuration that you could literally just have the mattress on a lightweight version of this pickup bed slide out. Click a handle, slide it out, grab the head of the bed, make it so easy, click a handle, slide it back. It's easy, it's simple, and gosh, would it make life a lot better on board as far as, you know, the anal retentive ones of us who like a bed nicely made each night. Anyways, you can see the caliber of the cabinetry here. Now, one thing I'd really like to point out, I love the fact that Phil has put this athwartship berth up in the bow and then created a door into the forward compartment. This allows me to create a walk-in closet for Sylvia. So, I mean, I not only have bathrooms, kitchen, I have a walk-in closet in a performance cruiser. absolutely fantastic. Bravo, Ballance. You can do anything you want with this. Those of you who have wives who only wear the bikinis, you don't need to do that. In my case, you know, again, we've talked about the imaginary lifestyle. There are those trips to Monaco and the casinos, so those cocktail dresses have got to be able to stand there. So, heading back up and over, cheers. Love this wine. You can see lots of storage space. There is Roger, wonderful, wonderful gentleman who is in charge of a lot of their assembly areas and manufacturing, and just a real charming fellow to chat with when you're touring. Now, as we look at the main cabin, the saloon, one thing that I brought up that I would really like as a design consideration is a bow cockpit, and access from the saloon to that bow cockpit for a bunch of different reasons. One of those would be safety. I don't have to make my way up the side decks. One of those, it would be simple comfort and luxury when you're med-moored and you can walk up there, have your coffee in the morning and not be in the eyesight of everybody around you. And another is just simply another place to go so that you're able to separate out a little bit. If you're doing a circumnav, sometimes you just want your quiet place. So, you know, when you look at the Ballance, you'd think, oh, there's not enough space. There's not enough space to do that. But I've laid out a couple of thoughts here in ways that you could do it. You can see on the left, you have sort of a port side eating area and a lounging area in the bow, kind of on an angle like the new FP51. And then you actually retain your forward-facing nav for those who are desperate for the forward-facing nav. On the right side, you have an area where, this is my favorite, you have your separate lounging area on the port and you have your separate eating area on the starboard. No, you're not going to get 10 people around that table. This is not a charter cat. I don't need 10 people. I need 2, maybe 4. I'm never going to have more than that on there. And I don't want to have to lounge at the kitchen table all the time. So I think, you know, for me, the right side with that access through to a lovely forward cockpit would be ideal, and I'd gladly give up a segment of storage lockers on the bow segment there. On the port side guest cabin, you could simply do the typical smaller double or twin bed notched into the bow angle there, and off you go. So to me, as far as a liveaboard, the one on either right or left would be absolutely ideal. It just gives that greater sense of space and comfort and home, which Sylvia is looking for. Moving down into the passenger side and just swinging around the galley, it's a beautiful galley. It's a great balance of function, form, and luxury. And that forward-facing nav, you know, I'm not big on forward-facing navs, but they have executed that beautifully. It looks like the Starship Enterprise, but very, very elegant. You can see the guest heads here, the guest aft cabin, beautiful with that big window that you had in the back that we talked about. And light and airy, the indirect lighting is executed so beautifully. You have a TV that swings out there, really creates a nice area. And he's notched out areas like that you see on the opposite side here. Also put the escape hatch in the bathroom, so if it leaks, which they always do, it leaks into the bathroom. Beautiful forward cabin here. Of course, in my layout, this would be much more of a standard cabin because that would be used as the cockpit. But nice artistic touches. Look at the finish on the side of the kitchen island there, and how beautifully executed. And again, the elegance of that forward-facing nav. You don't have a bunch of just equipment plopped onto it. It really looks good. And that's the beautiful thing about Ballance. They have balanced every aspect of their boats, and they look absolutely terrific. Now, moving into the tech corner for today's boat. One of the things that always surprises me is you've got a boat, it's your house. It's like your house, except your house is like 2,500 to 4,000 square feet with the 2 or 4 of you in it. So cooking smells and humidity and whatnot. And by the way, you've probably got a dehumidifier and an air conditioner in your house, so you're good. Now we take those 2 people and we drop them onto something that might have 400 square feet. We put it on the water in maximum humidity, heat, and really tough conditions. We put cooking in a very isolated area, and we wonder why these things don't smell great. You know, you're spending as much money on this as you would that house. Why can't it smell great? This isn't like we don't have the tech. You know, we could have a built-in dehumidifier such as I'm recommending here. Why doesn't every boat and yacht of this caliber or any caliber have a built-in dehumidifier that can run constantly while you're at the dock and plugged in, and so that it drains automatically and you're not worried about the absorption materials, you're not worried about some unsightly thing stuck on the kitchen counter with a drain into the sink that you see when the first thing you see when you walk into your elegant multi-million-dollar yacht. I don't get it. The tech is there, it's easy, it's efficient, and it would keep this thing without all of the nasty smells and mold and mildew and potential that you will get with excessive humidity. The other thing then is, why not have, again, an inline item like this Dometic Breathe Easy? This uses UVC light. The air flows through it. The UVC light turns on, literally kills any bacteria, any mold, spores, anything in the airflow, and you have an active way of keeping everything fresh and clean in your multi-million-dollar home that is a condensed environment for you. So I would encourage every builder, these things should be standard in everything that we're doing, because who wants their multi-million-dollar yacht smelling even a little off? I was on board what was a $2 million yacht at the show, 2 years old, beautifully kept, but there was that tinge of a smell, and it just ruins everything. It ruins that elegant, beautiful quality feel that you have, because your sense of smell is so important to your perceptions. So enough said, let's get on it, guys. Let's get simple tech involved in these boat builds. Now, moving to the next stage, let's look at some comparables. We've seen the base prices of these yachts. Now, I generally, if you're looking at the base price, I'd add 50% for sail away. So keep that in mind. We were looking at sort of between $750,000 and $1.2 million. So sail away, you'd be looking at $1.3 million to $1.8 million. So here we are back on the used market, a 2020 Outremer 51. We've got a price point of 1.49 euro and 1.5 Canadian. So you can see that you've had a little depreciation there. Probably not a bad deal, but I'd probably take the Ballance over the 51. The 55 I love, 51 aging a bit, but a little bird whispered to me they're launching a 52 at the Cannes show. Then moving on to the Neil 51. You all know I love this boat, and it's a pretty good deal. It on the used market here, it has a lot of benefits. I would have to say, though, that the Ballance 482 is a far more refined boat. That's the way it feels more mature. It feels more solid. And then the slider. So the slider 49, they're launching it. The designer has some absolutely epic ideas, especially in the 60-foot range with his, calls it a sly fly, which is an integrated fly bridge that really doesn't raise the boom. And the slider 49 was the first one to hit. I believe this is hull 1 here. At $1,000,000 Canadian, €759. Could be a great deal if you're a hull number 1 kind of guy. Probably not my gig. Heading to the Dave scores. $74 on the Ballance 482. I loved so many aspects of this boat. The interior really scored high, and the exterior for their elegance. For comfort, I'd have to take it up another notch on the interior because of that athwartship berth, that forward bow walk-in closet potential. The exterior, a little thick on the brow line, not quite that sense of refinement that we have on, say, the Ultramar 55. Quality, your sense of quality, and all I can speak to is a perception here. But my perception of quality on this was fantastic. I'd have to give it a 9 out of 10. Roger and Phil and the guys have done an absolutely beautiful job. Performance, this thing has great numbers. The weight is good. The upwind sail area is fantastic. Hull width is pretty darn good. This thing is going to go well. The lazy sailor factor, no spaghetti, great line handling back to the helm. But you know me, I'd like little things like the electric head sail furlers. I'd like little things like the bow and, well, maybe not stern thruster, but the bow thruster with a coordinated dock mate. I'm a real lazy sailor. The condo impact, I give it a 7 out of 10. If you looked at those other 2 layouts, those could take it up to an 8 or a 9 out of 10, giving it a sense of greater space. It's not that it doesn't have a good sense of space. I was very surprised by the openness, the lightness, the feel of space. I expected something feeling far smaller, but it could be better. The geek factor, you know, Phil and the crew stick with known technologies. They really do take a balanced approach to everything that they do. And they have innovations like the VersaHelm, which they led, but in general, they stay pretty conservative and focused on functionality and reliability. However, they also then introduced, or one of the first to introduce, the integral charging system off of the engines. And this, if you haven't seen it, you got to go to the Integral site. I'll put a link downstairs there. And it is a fabulous system for fast charging a lithium battery bank and maximizing the efficiency of your diesel engines while you're doing it. And the value for money, definitely an 8 out of 10. This is a good, solid, balanced value for money. So how does that compare with our other yachts? Well, it puts it right there neck and neck with an Ultramar 55, 1 point below, but the 55's it's 7 feet longer. So, you could not go wrong with either of these vessels. Puts it ahead of the Leopard. Now, some people might freak on the Leopard. I know she's a heavy, heavy boat. That baby needs to go on a diet. But as far as livability and will Sylvia like it, it's hard to get past that Leopard. It's got so much going for it. Well, that's this week's boat. We certainly hope you enjoyed it. We've got another adventure for you next week. So stick with us. In the meantime, I strongly recommend some Tambroskolov. Roger, please forgive me. So I suggest you try a wee dram, and cheers.